I'm not a psycho when it comes to concerts now, but I remember then I was really wanting to get up to the front and I grabbed Joe Jonas's foot and I thought that was great. And now I'm so embarrassed about that because I would never grab someone. Hi Teen Vogue, I'm Peyton List and today I'll be sharing some of my firsts with you. I want to say the first thing I do every day is get up and stretch and drink water, but I usually just scroll my phone to see who's texting me. I'll text my mom first. I feel like she's just like one of those people that will hit the exclamation point, the question mark. She'll hit everything until I respond. So usually she takes priority. Other than that, my boyfriend. My most used emojis is probably the face with the eyes that are all in spirals, and then the one that has the hand over the mouth, and then also the girl that's hitting her face. Because normally I'll forget something or I'll be late or something and I'll send that emoji hoping that they'll forgive me because of it. Yeah, the face palm. My first ever acting job. It was a Burlington Coat Factory commercial when I was a kid. I remember there was another kid on set and she got to dress up as a bunny and I got to just be like a normal girl and I really wanted to be the bunny. But then my first acting role was in the rom-com 27 Dresses with Katherine Heigl. I played her younger version and I was 8 years old. I was obsessed with Katherine after doing that movie. Like I went to the premiere and I went up to her and at the after party and she was so nice. I was like, I'm little you and I even have the same crooked tooth. And she's like, oh, little me, like come sit on my lap, kid. And like I hung out with her and sat on her lap for a while and I thought she was the best. I loved her. And then I remember I fell so in love with her. I saw Knocked Up was coming out like the next year with Seth Rogen. And I was like, Mom, we gotta go see Knocked Up. And she was like, you are like 9 or 10 years old. I don't think this is appropriate, but I was so adamant about seeing it that she took me to see it and I was a little scarred after seeing Knocked Up. Taught me a lot. I met Taylor Swift as a kid and I was really excited about that because I got to go backstage at one of her tours. And then I went back another year and then she knew that I was on a show. She's like, you're an actress, right? You're a young actress. And she talked to me for a little while and she was so sweet. And I remember feeling like I was gonna faint after she was so kind to me. But then we had Michelle Obama on an episode of Jessie. And that was a moment where I didn't know she was coming because they blacked out her name in the script and they wouldn't tell us who was coming. And so when she showed up, I thought I was gonna pass out. I was so excited. My first crush, in first grade, I got a Valentine from a secret admirer. I couldn't figure out who it was and I was really creeped out. I didn't think anyone would ever like me. And then I found out it was this boy, this British boy, Joe, who had just come to our school. He was actually adorable and I did like him, but whenever someone liked me back, I would get really scared. When I found out who it was, I definitely ran away and then never spoke to him. Gosh, I have no clue. That's really bad. I think it might have been on a show. My first car might have been a character's car. I had never driven before. They were like, this was part of the requirement for you to get the role was to have a license. No one told me that. I just had to fake it. I would just pull out of the house and back into the house. The character's main scenes were her driving all the friends around. And so they had to change so many of those scenes. No, they didn't get a trailer to wheel the car. They just changed the plot and they just like changed the location of some of those scenes, which has happened a lot of times. There's a lot of actors who can't drive. Oh, so terrible. I went to go see How the Grinch Stole Christmas on Broadway when I was living in New York as a kid. I'm just remembering what I wore. It was so horrible. Yeah, I went to like a lot of random premieres as a kid and just like regret so many of those outfits. I remember like they flew me out to LA to screen test for this movie and I got to screen test with like another Disney girl that I had looked up to since I was a kid and I was like, this is crazy. Like I went in and then I flew home and it was like down to me and the final girl. They were like putting me in the wig and everything. And then I found out I didn't get it. And I was like eating a burrito when I found out and I just like cried into the burrito. Not getting something, like I get rejected all the time for my job, but like people just see, you know, the wins, but it's like, there's so much rejection that it doesn't even like feel personal or like, I think you just have to get used to it. I didn't really think it was going to happen a lot. Like I remember, you know, still having like a lot of faith and everything. But now I've had those conversations with myself where like I've gotten used to like mean comments or, you know, whatever it is. And like, I think I've grown a lot thicker of skin, even though I can be pretty sensitive. And I think I've had to have that conversation really with my parents, which has been interesting because they'll get a comment on Facebook. Like my dad got a comment saying from like one of his high school classmates, like, oh, John hasn't aged very well. And he took it really bad. And I was like, Dad, please. I get these comments every day. Like I get so many mean comments. Like, and I have had to talk my parents through some of their things. I'm like, screw it. People are gonna say things all the time. It doesn't matter. The first concert I attended was a Jonas Brothers concert. I'm not a psycho when it comes to concerts now, but I remember then I was really wanting to get up to the front and I grabbed Joe Jonas's foot and I thought that was great. And now I'm so embarrassed about that because I would never grab someone, but you know, it was different times. I think I saw the Jonas, like a couple of the Jonas Brothers out at dinner one night in LA after I'd wrapped filming. And it was just so odd because I felt more of a similar age and it was just really trippy looking over at them and thinking, I didn't apologize or say anything, but I just silently kind of apologized in my head while looking over at them. Oh gosh, that's a great question. It took so long for me to feel like I was getting the hang of it. I remember I would read a scene where Tori throws a punch angrily at the karate dummy and I would be like, oh no. I hated throwing punches and I just felt so weird about it because obviously knew the Karate Kid and I knew what the show was about, but I didn't know my character was going to have to get into martial arts at all. That was not written on the breakdown when I auditioned. And yeah, it was something I felt uncomfortable with at first, but then I think this past season, season 4, we were training so much and training every day. And I think I started to get a lot more comfortable. Very excited for people to see the All Valley tournament. That was a lot of fun. I feel like everyone in the cast has changed so much since I first met them. Like Xolo, when I first met him, was still in high school, and then now since has like graduated and grown up so much, I feel like even just looks like he's grown up a lot. I think Jacob, he's a very different person once you get to know him. Like he's a big jokester and like he can take anything and has super thick skin and is like a little more closed off when it comes to anything that's going on in his life. But like as I've gotten to know him more, he has this deepness and he's gone off and done Outward Bound where like he just has volunteered to personally go off into the wilderness for months and gone with these kids who get dragged out of bed, but he willingly volunteered himself to go. Like he's just an interesting person. I think Jacob is probably the most surprising person. The first thing I do after a long day of work is I go eat. I think I look forward to my dinner like throughout the entire day of work. I think about what I'm going to eat. Like I plan my next meal.